Where Everything Is Music is a collaboration between Van Diemen's band and myself and members from Ensemble Kaboul, which is headed by the Arman family, and we brought out Khaled Arman to work with Van Diemen's band on this project. Khaled's a lecturer in Geneva, and his area of interest is the intersection between music that travelled from India along the Silk Road through Persian traditions and then met the West in Constantinople and these kind of major cultural centres at roughly, a bit before, but roughly the same time as Western early music and Baroque music was really being developed. And that's the area of interest for Julia and Van Diemen's band. So it's a very natural collaboration, I think. And in amongst it is the idea of the cultures that now maybe are seen as more different than they were in the past. Music really does unify everyone, really. That's what we're celebrating. One of the reasons I think these musics work together so well is because of how the instruments themselves sound together. The Baroque instruments, while they might kind of seem really familiar, they do sound quite different to a traditionally kind of classical sounding ensemble. The harpsichord has a fairly mirrored sound in Persian kanun maybe. Instead of a double bass, there's the violone, we have a viola da gamba, and the Baroque violins themselves are tonally quite different, which means they meld really well with the sympathetic strings on the rebab that Khaled plays. That instrument is a very ancient instrument, almost looks like a mix between a sarod, an Indian sarod, and a banjo. There's the tabla, but also other traditional folk instruments, percussion instruments from Afghanistan. So the sound itself, it's not strictly Persian, it's not strictly Western. The instruments really help with that, I think. I think a really interesting part of this collaboration for me, and certainly for Julia and the other members of Van Diemen's band, has been really understanding what collaborations like this mean to musicians like Khaled. And that is that obviously we know that music in Afghanistan is not allowed, and despite the brief period where it was, that's been the status quo for quite a long time. Khaled was smuggled out of the country in 1990, I think, and his father, mother and younger sister came out a year later when the Taliban destroyed the music conservatorium that his father had founded. So they're displaced now, and it's very important for Khaled that the music continues to live on and be remembered and recorded, and for him that means finding ways to present it to new audiences, which leads to cultural collaboration. And right back when I met him in 2007, that was what his chat was about then. But he wanted to be able to, I remember very clearly, I was playing in a band with drums and bass and what have you, and he said, look, I want Afghan music to have big sound. Meaning he wanted it to be kind of big and presentable in a way that would have big impact and presumably travel widely. As an example of this, he wants to give me one of his rebubs, not to play Afghan music, but he wants the instrument to be heard. So look, you play your music, but play it on one of my instruments so that people can get acquainted with the sound of the instrument. I think this is very important for Khaled. His sister, Marshall, is doing the same thing in other ensembles in Europe, and it's a real honour actually for us to be part of that collaboration and the recording that we're going to be doing to document these new arrangements that Khaled's made of his country's music. I think for people coming to this show to be able to see the love of the music that Siar and his brother and Khaled have, and the beauty that's in the music, even if it has come out of pretty horrific history and times of conflict. This is rich culture, defiantly so now. It deserves your ears. So tickets are on sale. Where Everything Is Music will be here at the Theatre Royal on October 3rd. really look forward to seeing you there. It's going to be a very special night. Don't know when it's going to happen again, if it's going to happen again here, so get in early.